been southbound, I've been hellbound, riding on the midnight train. Going too fast now, think I ought to slow down, standing in the pouring rain.
What's going on, guys? Tristan and Tony back with another episode of the One Hell of a Life Outdoor Podcast. What's up, Dad?
What is up? I'm happy to be back, and I had to miss out on the last one because of the new job and everything, but excited to be back and ready to have a great time here tonight.
Yep, absolutely. And today we got on Spencer Kirksey coming all the way from California. He's not here live with us, but over the phone on the podcast, and we're excited to talk with him. He does a lot of cool stuff there out west, and has I guess, Spencer, I guess it would be kind of like a branding agency, right? Nomadiq Media?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I appreciate you guys having me on. And yeah, so Nomadiq Media, we just kind of, so I'll start from kind of the origin of how it all started. And so before COVID, this is actually kind of a fun story. Before COVID, I was a PE teacher and athletic director for almost 10 years, and athletic coach as well. So I coached various sports, more of an emphasis on football and baseball, but that was my life. All my degrees are in that field, everything. I thought I was going to die an athletic director / PE teacher. Like that's where I was going. And, I know COVID did a number on a lot of people and businesses, and I was one of the probably few success stories to come out of there. I know there was actually quite a few, people realized that they were stuck in a job that they didn't want to be in. And I was actually one of them. I was pretty burnt out in what I was doing. And I was able to kind of pivot, and I was one of the lucky ones. And I had a friend who was working for a marketing agency at the time, and they signed an ammunition company, and they had no idea how to help an ammunition company from a marketing's perspective. And that's where I came into the fold. And so it was one of those things where it's right time, right place. And I just kind of learned by fire, jumped in and made a lot of mistakes, but learned a lot of stuff real fast. And, I know you are handy with a camera as well. And, things have evolved at such a rapid pace already, just since from COVID. Right. But, I learned quick, and here I am now. So I've worked with a couple different marketing agencies. I kind of work with a couple of them like adjacent. So they'll hire me to do things that they're not fit for, like content, for example. And yeah, that's how I started. I was kind of a one-man show up until this year. And, work got so crazy where I'm like, I need to bring in some artillery, so I know a couple people, through the space, through the outdoors and content and social media. The outdoor industry is a huge space, right? But it's kind of a small circle. A lot of people know the same people. You know what I mean? So I knew a couple people who did what I do, and they were able to jump in and help out. So I've got a couple hired hands that I work with for email marketing and website design and social media management. And I still do some social media management, but I really try to focus my efforts and time, behind the lens now.
Well, that's awesome, man. And I think going back through on your page today, I took some time just to, look at your posts over the last, year or so. And it's just, you do a really good job of just the quality of your content. And just, even if it's just like a video of you talking or being funny, it's just all really high quality stuff. And
appreciate it, man. Thank you.
You can tell that you've put the time into, to work on perfecting the craft,
Oh, yeah. And go for it, Tony. Go for it. If you're going to keep complimenting, please keep going.
Yeah. No, I have to piggyback on that, man. It's just very high quality. It makes us look at some stuff like that, and we're just like, yep, this is where we're going to step it up.
Yeah, for sure.
Well,
so thank you for setting the standard.
Oh, wow. That is a tall order. I really appreciate that. And it is a testament to guys like us where, I'll speak for myself. Like, I don't have a degree in marketing. I didn't take, photography class or anything like that, and so I just had a good eye growing up, and I started kind of with cell phone stuff, and then it kind of just, morphed into what it is now. But anyone who's listening, who's thinking about getting into it, just just get a camera. It doesn't matter what it is, and just start shooting and start making all the mistakes. Make all the mistakes now, and then you'll learn and you'll get better and better. I look at some of the stuff I started with, I'm like, good Lord, is this terrible? But,
us too, man.
but you start somewhere, right? And you stick with it. Just like anything in life, not to get super motivational, but like consistency is it, man. Like if you stick with it and you're willing to learn and you check the ego and just make mistakes and learn from everything, like you're going to be all right, and you'll probably get to where you want to go as long as you stick with it.
Yeah, man. And I think you brought up a really good point about like checking the ego, because I feel like and there's just like a lot of egos in the outdoor space.
Oh my God, so many, man, so many.
Yeah, and it's like I'm not trying to like toot my own horn, but like I've never approached things that way. It's like always, to me, it's like all, high tide lifts all boats kind of thing. And like I'm really quick to like pick people's brains on stuff, and like if you don't have, like you said, check your ego. Like if you're not able to do that and like reach out to people or follow people that do a great job like you, for example, and just pick people's brains, you're limiting your own growth.
Yeah, absolutely. And there's so many gatekeepers, right? So many gatekeepers in this industry, and probably all industries, right? Because everyone gets scared that someone's going to snipe somebody's client or whatever it is, right? So but I've never really, I've thought about it like that. But at the end of the day, I always want to help, because from my perspective, in my experience, like I made so many mistakes that could have been redirected if somebody was willing to tell and teach me these things, So when at any point in time, anyone shoots me a message, or it's face to face and they're asking me questions, I'm an open book. You want to ask me how much I charge for something, or, hey, this is what my price sheet is. Do you think it's, comparable? Or, hey, what lens is this? Are you shooting off of? Or how do I approach, such and such client? I'm not the expert. I'll never say I am, but I do know a thing or two, because I learned by fire, and I had to learn quick and fast. So I'm always open to just, give out knowledge. And again, I'll say it might not be, expert advice, but I'll tell you what I did, and I'll tell you what didn't work, and I'll tell you what did, and then you can make your own decisions from there.
Yeah. No, I think that's great, man. And just kind of let's rewind a little bit. You mentioned that for 10 years before you got into this, you were an athletic director and involved in sports and stuff. Can you give everyone just a little background of like, what's growing up in the outdoors like in California? Like, when did you first get into the outdoors? Like, and just kind of your life up until this point a little bit.
What lit you on fire?
Oh,
he's not going to tell us.
We lost him. All right, we'll get him back.
Your call has been...
Bear with us, folks, while we get Spencer back on the pod.
Your call has been forwarded to voice.
All right, we got Spencer back. All right, man.
All right, so how it all started with the outdoors. So I grew up in this will crack people up, because yes, grew up in California, and I grew up actually in Los Angeles County. Which, most people definitely from not around here think of Los Angeles. They think of the skyscrapers. They think of, city lights and ocean and all that kind of stuff, right? So I actually grew up in a very rural area called Topanga Canyon. And I always describe it as where all the hippies and rednecks used to go. And that's what it was when I grew up, So I was born in '84. I lived there for quite some time. So all through the 90s and everything, right? Like that's where all the hippies and rednecks were. And it was a completely different era than it is now. But I grew up chasing, creek beds, up and down creek beds, up and down mountains, just exploring. This is way before cell phones, were ever even a thought. And, it was just kind of come home, when it starts getting dark. But as far as the hunting, aspect started to come into, it wasn't in my family. Like my dad wasn't a hunter, mom, all my relatives who hunted were actually out in Texas. And that's kind of how I started to really get a feel for it. So I'd always go on a Thanksgiving trip and go spend some time with that family. And they'd, the day after Thanksgiving, we'd always go on a hunt. And we had access to a leased land and go shoot some hogs. And that's how I started. But again, it was like very intermittent, right? It was just, it was maybe once or twice a year tops, usually just once a year. And that's how it was for many, many, many years. And then, my now father-in-law, he's a huge outdoorsman. And he's big into bow hunting. And, I was hanging out with him. He's shooting arrows in the backyard. And I was like, oh, that looks pretty cool. And so I started getting into it. And with my personality, I get so overly, hyperly obsessed with shit. And I was like, I shot a bow and I'm like, all right, I'm buying a bow, I'm buying arrows, I'm buying a target, I'm buying all the things. And, back to like camera stuff, how it all comes together. It's like, I started with a really shitty bow. Like, I'm pretty sure my arrows were aluminum. You know what I mean? And I just worked my way from there and got, better high quality stuff. And yeah, I got really into the hunting stuff. For the last couple years, I have not been able to go out as much as I would have liked, just because building the business, starting a family,
Sure.
It's a lot. It's a lot. And I'd be able to go shoot hunts, you know what I mean? Like I did a really cool dove hunt with actually Hook and Bullet.
Yeah, I saw that.
You're very familiar with. You do work with them as well. And we did a dove hunt out in Arizona, out in Buckeye. It was really, really fun. And so I got to shoot that. And for me, it was fun because I'm like, yeah, like I'm not hunting, but I am, you know what I mean? Like I'm with the boys, I'm running around with these guys. It's great. So I still got that feel. But this year I told myself, now that like things are a little bit more established with my business, I'm gonna definitely take the time to hunt this year for sure. And I want to get into birds. It's something I haven't been able to do. Deer hunting's great. Out here is not favorable. Terrain is really like we'll get dumped on. During fall, winter, we'll get a ton of rain like we have for probably last 4 or 5 years. But man, by the time hunting season rolls around, it's all dried up again, so it's really tough terrain to do, spot and stock hunting. All the real solid hunting that you're going to find in California is all up in Northern California, which feels like a completely different country
Yeah,
than the rest of the rest of California. It's got its own country up there. It's a really, really cool area. If you haven't had the opportunity to go travel up there, like Redding, California is a really, really cool spot. So anyway, this is a long-winded way of saying is, I just really want to get back into it this year and kind of take time for myself because just the business kind of really, really was such a beast to get rolling. But now that we're a little bit more established, I really can't wait to get back out there.
Yeah, man, there's a certain aspect of like, when, whether you're doing what you're doing or like doing YouTube videos like we're doing, or if you're an outfitter, like when you are, I guess, kind of doing what you love and doing it kind of as, not that I'm comparing us to a business, but like
Williamson Outfitters, located along the beautiful Gulf Coast of Florida, is a premier guide service with lodging that provides incredible coastal duck hunting, gator hunting, fishing, gigging, scalping, and custom boat tours along Florida's forgotten coast. They are family-owned and operated with over 200 years of combined experience hunting and fishing along this incredible stretch of Florida. On a coastal duck hunt, you have an incredible chance at rare species like redheads, bluebills, buffleheads, fully plumed blue-winged teal, mottled ducks, whistling ducks, and several other species. The inshore bite is hot right now along Florida's forgotten coast. If you're planning a visit to the Florida Panhandle, call Williamson Outfitters to book a fishing trip right away. Targeted species include redfish, tripletail, trout, flounder, and more. Spots are filling up fast, so book today. Call or text 850-251-8650 or visit www.floridaducks.com.
When you're looking at it that way, like, oh, I got to film this YouTube video or I got to take these clients out or whatever, it can become to a point where you're like, man, like I'm not getting out of this what what that kid that got into hunting or whatever, what they want.
I think you bring up a good point, and this is what you're touching on, and it's one thing that I have always.
Which, just to preface real quick, I'm not like complaining about that because like we do this all because like we love it, but like that's just the double-edged sword. But
no, I know what you're saying.
Let's be real. Let's be real. I mean, if I've always. And my wife and my kids, they've seen me do this all my life, and it's just how I learned is, I would constantly just go by myself, and my wife would be like, "You're just going by yourself." And I go, "Yep, yep, I sure am." Oh, there we go. There was something going on there, wasn't it?
I just fixed something with his mic. You can probably hear him a lot clearer now.
All right, so let me step back and just kind of go over that again. So, point is that you got to. We love it so much, and we want to share so much with people, and help them because we love it, right? So we're trying to help them love it as much as you love it, and it can be almost to a detriment because. Yeah. And it's not just helping people, but it's like serving whatever it is. And whether it's YouTube creating videos, it's taking pictures, it's helping people out, it's, teaching a new person how to hunt, whatever those things are, I don't care who you are, you got to take that time. And if you haven't,
100%.
Hear me out, take the time to go do it by yourself. You'll find a peace in it. It's hard to, it really is. If you're stuck in I just go all the time. You really got to take a step back whenever you have that time by yourself and say, look, I don't need to go right now. I can just slow it all down and just hear these birds, watch that squirrel, listen for a leaf to crack or a limb to snap, whatever it might be. And that's that reset, right?
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
And I think everybody needs it.
Yeah, no, that's actually a really good point because, again, another reason why I've kind of been on a little bit of a hunting hiatus these last 2 years is because, that same thing, like I wasn't taking any time for myself. I was all about the business. I was making great money, but I also had no time for myself. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And I ended up suffering because of it, and it's a brutal feeling. But I will say, like I've never had more fun, just like a buddy and myself going out on hunting. There's no cameras. We're out there. We're delirious. We've been hiking our dick off. We're going through hell and back. We're not seeing a damn thing, but hey, we're having the time of our life. You know what I mean?
There's a lot of times like that where things suck that you just look back on. You're like, man, that was actually a great time.
We really made the best of it. Yeah.
Yeah, we made the best of it. I actually have a really funny hunting story from a couple years back, and it was my buddy Nathan and I, and he had just gotten into bow hunting. He'd been practicing, all year long. I'm like, all right, dude, like let's go out on the evening hunt. We'll hunt the evening. We'll go crash somewhere over here. We'll find a little place where we can camp in the trucks, and we'll hunt the morning. We'll go home. We'll do a nice little overnighter, and it'll be good. And then so we're getting packed up, ready to go in, for our evening hunt, and this truck pulls up out of nowhere. A big white van, and this guy who is big as a refrigerator, and he looks like a polar bear, dude. He gets out of his truck. He's in full camo, and I'm going, oh shit, here we go. And the guy goes, he pops up, couldn't be nicer. He goes, hey, you guys see anything? I was glassing up on the mountain, saw you guys come in, I've got a muzzle loader tag that I'm trying to fill tomorrow. And the guy's hardcore, dude. And so we get to talking. I'm like, yeah, we're gonna hunt this evening, and then we're gonna find somewhere to crash. And he goes, oh, like I'm staying up the road. I found this little public land spot. We can, I've got my whole setup over there. I'm like, I look at my buddy Nathan. I'm like, well, I mean, it's either gonna be like one of the most fun nights of our life, or we're both gonna end up on the back of a milk carton. So let's just, we just met the dude literally like 10 minutes ago, and so we hunt the evening, we have a good time, we come back, and I'm like, all right, man, you want to do this? And we're like, we're literally gonna go camp with a stranger right now. And we end up going to the pin he sends us, And dude, we roll up. He's playing Chris Stapleton. He's got steaks on the grill. He's got Busch Light on ice.
My dude.
And,
What?
dude, and we had the time of our life.
Wow.
Like, I am not over exaggerating.
What's this dude's name? I'm just kidding.
I can't even remember his name, but he was such a cool dude, so giving, so sharing, and we just literally sat around the campfire just crushing beers and just swapping stories and just bullshitting, and it was like literally the time of our life. We all got up the next morning, hunted together, and then we all just went our separate ways. Dude, it was such a beautiful moment in hunting, and nobody shot a damn thing, but we still had like literally the time of our life, dude. Time of our life.
Dude, that is such an awesome story. Like that is just truly what it's all about.
It is.
And in California, dude, like, you wouldn't expect it.
I wouldn't expect Busch Light out there because
yeah.
The funny thing is, like, we're from the Midwest originally, and Busch, that's like home of Busch Light. Anheuser-Busch, of course. And, in Florida, we spent about 10 years, our family did, in Florida before we moved up to Georgia where we live now. And down in Florida, like, it's kind of hard to find Busch Light, like, at least, up until the last few years, like, and you still can't find it at, like, a restaurant or anything, but that's coming from the Midwest.
Yeah, you can't find it anywhere out here, dude. I don't know where he found it. I don't know where he came up with that, dude.
Dude, I think he was.
I think he was from Georgia.
I think he was.
Lied to me.
I think he was an angel, bro. I think he just.
I think so.
I think God sent him.
I think so, dude. I think so. But yeah, that was like one of my favorite hunting stories. And I've got a ton of them, dude, where it's just like you and your boy are out there, and you're delirious, and you're sunburned, and you're just like, what are we doing out here? And you just can't stop laughing. You can't stop laughing about it.
That's awesome, man.
I remember, I don't even know if we've ever talked about this. Well, not so much in depth on the podcast, but the first time I took Tristan on a duck hunt, I was just looking through my phone the other day, and I looked and I saw this picture, and I'm like, when was that? And I was like, oh man, that's the very first time I took Tristan duck hunting.
That's so cool.
Yeah, and we were sitting in Mosquito Swamp, and it was not good. And it was Florida. It was pretty warm, and we didn't really see squat. And I don't know if I remember you saying it or if I just thought it, but I definitely had the vibe like, I don't know if he's going to do this again, or whatever. But we ended up making the best of it, and I think we ended up even going back again. And then was that when we saw that big giant ball of teal?
I think so, yeah. That
just fell into we were just like, dude, what is over there? They just fell over the top of 30-foot tall longleaf pines and just dropped. And I'm like, I've never seen blue-winged teal do that, and I'm like, and this is in the winter, so it wasn't early teal. And I mean, you could tell that they were like dropping quick. And I ended up finding, you wouldn't be able to tell, but if you were walking by there, this fire lane, and you poked your head above this little levee, you would see what looked like a pond that was all grown in cattails, the whole thing.
No way.
And so I was like, dude, they're in there somewhere. All right. So I sneak around there. This is like the next day or something. No, maybe it was the last day of hunting season, I think.
Yeah, you went back like the next
Yeah, that's when
weekend.
I shot my first plumed blue-wing drake. He wasn't fully plumed, but anyway, I snuck back in there. I thought, what the hell? I had an hour left on the last day of hunting season.
You gotta be out by like noon, right?
Yeah. I had to quit at noon. It was what the deal was. And I was like, oh crap. So I go running over there and literally just grab my gun and just go, maybe they're there. I'm just going to jump shoot them, And so I get, and I don't know what I'm getting myself into. I just know, like, dude, I can see all these cattails, and there's got to be an opening on the other side of it. So I go back there 300-400 yards, and this is all like rattlesnake cottonmouth territory stuff. And I'm like, man, well, I get over there and I'm so close, dude. I'm like standing there in the bowl, right? And the bowl's probably about, I don't know, 50 yards in diameter. And then it's all longleaf pines, except for where this old roadbed cuts in. There's a hole, right? So I'm like, gosh, dang, I can't believe these things fell in here. Well, I'm like, if I start walking, I don't know when I'm going to jump them. But if I rock a shot in the air, if they're there, they're going to get up and I'm going to blast one. Well, I freaking chamber one off, boom. And all of a sudden it was like, I look up and I'm telling you 60, 70 teal just fire up in front of me. First of all, I had rookie shock. I was like, oh shit, what do I do? Right?
Yeah.
And then I wish I would have been more of an experienced hunter, because here's what happened. They all jumped up. I go off and probably hip shot the first shot. I don't know. Didn't realize that I didn't put another shell in my gun after I rocked one off. No. So I only had 2 shells. Mm-hmm. So I boom, boom, and I see 2 drop. And I'm like, hell yeah. Well, I didn't realize this was going to happen. I thought, I have no chance, they're gone. They go from right to left in front of me in this bowl, and they have to try to elevate. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, oh shit, I got a chance. So I'm pulling out shells, throwing them in there. And boy, they went around like a tornado and then went boom, right out that road. And I was like, holy crap, what just happened? So I'm like, a lot of times when you blow up a big group of teal like that, you'll get a lot of stragglers that'll come back, And so I'm like, just wait here for a minute. And I'll be son of a gun. Here come about 12, 15 of them. They come in and jet me, and I, boom, shoot another one. And so anyway, I go to retrieve them, and I only found 2 of the 3, because the third one that I had to go across all the way through the cattails to find, it was all, dude, I bet you I saw floating on cattails like that were laying on the water. I bet you I saw a dozen cottonmouths.
Yeah, forget that.
And I was like, hail to the no, I ain't doing that. Yeah. And so I didn't go after that one. But anyway, I just
I'm not a nope rope guy, dude. It's easy there, dude. I'm out. I don't mess with those things at all. Not even cottonmouth. Like snakes in general. I'm out.
Y'all got a lot of rattlesnakes out there, huh?
Oh yeah, man. Oh yeah, we got tons of them out here. They're like, I mean, people don't kind of realize it, but California's a desert. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So we've just got oodles and oodles and oodles of them. It's actually very common, and this could be in other states too. But like, it's very common for people who have dogs, like, to go through like a rattlesnake training program with their pets, because they're everywhere out here.
Man. Wow, dang, that's different.
No kidding, dude.
Yeah.
That's crazy. So. But so what kind of species of animals have you hunted with your bow? Has it just been mule deer, or do you?
Yeah, it's just been deer. So I started hunting rabbits. That's how I learned. Dude. Yeah, man, that is a lot harder than you think it is.
It is
a rabbit with a bow.
It is.
But that's how I learned. And then
you guys got those big ones out there, don't you? Those jackrabbits.
Yeah. Oh, those jackrabbits are.
So you can shoot those in the lungs, man. Dude. You can make a lung shot on a jackrabbit.
Absolutely.
Had a blood trail.
No, you can blood trail a jackrabbit. Dude, I'm telling you, those things are as big as like small dogs, dude. Yeah. They're huge.
They are.
And then the cottontail. You got a lot of cottontail. So they say not to eat the jackrabbit. I shot my first jackrabbit and I said, screw it, I'm going to eat it. That was a mistake. I regret that. But I finised the rest of it with bacon, and I'm like, come on, you can make anything taste good with bacon.
That's
so I
right.
finished it off with bacon, and then it was cottontail from then on out. And cottontail is actually pretty good eating. So,
yeah, tastes like
so
chicken.
it tastes like chicken. It really does. It's crazy. Same texture. It's so bizarre.
Yep.
And then I shot years ago. Now I shot my one and only deer with a bow. That was actually wild. Talk about like rookie, like that, that rookie shock you get. I was sitting there behind a log, hanging by a watering hole. And, cause again, spot and stalking it out there, it's just crunch, 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 crunch. Like you're not sneaking up on anything out there.
Yeah.
And so, I was sitting there, and it was actually late morning. I was getting ready to like pack my shit up and be like, call it a wash. And then this little spike comes in, and got the corner of my eye, and he literally sits right in front of me. I was probably like 12 yards away.
Wow.
But that rookie shot.
It's in the teens that morning, and maybe you're chasing ducks or geese. But now it's September and it's 85 degrees and you're hunting early teal or geese. As a waterfowler, you need dependable weather protection that will not break the bank. Founded in 1996, Frog Togs is not only the leader in breathable wader technology, but a company you can depend on to keep you warm and dry, head to toe, no matter your hunting environment. Stay bone dry by using discount code ZD315 for 15% off not only your first purchase, like most discount codes, but how about every single purchase you make from now until December 31st, 2024?
Okay, so I'm like, oh, he's literally in front of me. What do I do now?
Yeah,
You know?
yeah, for
Oh
sure.
yeah, I've got a bow in my hand. Why don't I try to shoot him? Yeah, and yeah, I didn't realize it because again, just it's all when you're not in that situation, that rookie shock hits, and you're not like calculating everything. He was a little quartered away, but he didn't go more than like I want to say like 20, 30 yards.
Nice.
And once we field dressed him, you could see I clipped his lung and his liver, and he was done for. So you know, you can always ask for always want to see a clean, quick death, essentially.
Yeah, man.
Sure.
Absolutely. I'm reading this Cam Hanes book, Endure, and and he was just talking about the part I was reading last night. He got this like once in a lifetime opportunity, you know, and just through all these years of being in the hunting industry, like and networking and stuff, he just knew this guy or whatever that. I guess it's normally like a $70,000 hunt, and like their target for elk is like 400 inches or bigger, like is what these guys are trying to shoot. And so like really like truly a once in a lifetime opportunity. And like, you know, I mean, Spencer, like I'm sure you've seen like Cam Hanes stuff, like what he's all about with all the shooting and stuff. Like if there was ever going to be a guy that like was more like, you know, prepared for that moment, it'd be Cam.
For sure.
And in a story, like they had this bull coming in that was like a 9x10, like over 400 inches. And he was like, man, I don't really have an angle here, and climbed up in a tree actually and had a like perfect like scenario. Bull comes in and he shot forward and high and hit it in the shoulder blade. It was just sick as a dog about it. Long story short, you know, ended up the next day finding it bedded down, or maybe it was later that day, and snuck up and got another couple of arrows in it. But it's like, man, there's just the margin for error with bow hunting is just so slim. And like you said, you know, you always want to have that like ethical shot, but even the best of archers, you know, like something could always go wrong, you know?
Yeah. They don't, what's the saying? It's not, if something's going to go wrong, it's when, you know, when you're out there enough, you know, you're going to make a mistake, you know, and it's just human, you know?
Absolutely, man.
Yeah, no doubt about it. No, I think, you know, to kind of go back on something you were talking about earlier, Spencer, is, you know, you really, you really get better at something the more you screw it up. You know what I mean?
It's very true.
I mean, I just, you know, I asked my grandfather one time, I became such a good carpenter, and he goes, I messed a lot of stuff up. I lost a lot of money. You know, or something like that. He told me, and
it's very true.
Yeah, and you don't really know it yourself as a man or a woman, I guess. You know, and then you go to build something. Like I remember the first time I tried to finish the basement, it wasn't good. I mean, it was. My dad laughed at me, and I had 24-inch centers on the studs, and instead of 16-inch centers, and you know, because I was thinking logical, I was like, oh, well, if I put them every 24 inches, I could put up a 48-inch sheet of drywall. Boom.
Oh yeah.
You know what I mean? And I could save some money. No, and he'd do it every 16 inches because then it's still 48. You know what I mean?
Right.
but anyway, but no, you really do get better as you screw stuff up, and you get wiser. I think. Wisdom is a quality and a trait that is so person specific. You know what I mean?
Very much so.
It is, and you know,
you'll learn way more about you'll learn so much more through failure than your successes.
Oh, absolutely, man. You got to fail. There's some famous saying out there that, you know, it's impossible to win without failure. It is somewhere along the way you're going to fail. You know, it just.
And then it comes back to the consistency part, right? Like you fail, and then a lot of people, probably the vast majority, you know, they fail a couple times. They're like, screw it, I'm out.
Yep.
You know what I mean? But it's that consistency part, right? You just keep going, learn through it, push through those mistakes, and you're going to eventually get to where you want to be.
Yep.
Yeah. And I think it's really important that y'all talk about that, because it's just hunting, but it could be in anything, just the instant gratification, of wanting something now. I mean, it's like you hear a lot of people talk about like, oh, that's what's wrong with today's generation, which, I don't know if that's true or not, but like, there is a lot of people that get into hunting, I know, that get discouraged, and then they don't have success that first season, and then they're out and they're selling all their stuff.
Oh yeah.
So it is important just to, keep on trekking on.
Well,
absolutely.
Well, you know, throw the mic, Tristan.
Yeah, about knocked it over.
Mic drop, jeez.
Yeah.
It's gonna blow people's eardrums when they hear that.
One thing I was listening to, one of the podcasts Joe Rogan was doing the other day, and I can't remember the comedian he had on, but the comedian asked him, he said, basically, in so many words, asked him, he goes, how come everything you do is hard? He goes, why do you like to do hard shit? And he got really into that, and it's you got to do it to have a clean spirit and soul and mind. You got to do. I always say, like, my simple way of always saying it is you got to have a win. And sometimes that win is exercising. Sometimes it's eating good. Sometimes it's a little win at work, closing a sale if you're a salesperson. It's, you did a good deed for somebody. Those are all examples of it, but you got to have that every day, and I relate to what he's talking about, but isn't it so easy to take the easy way out? You know what I mean?
Complacency kills, man.
It is.
Complacency kills.
Well, when I think he even talked about this too. If you put yourself in a position to overcome things, like when I was in the military, that's the way my brain made me kind of like this machine, right? And call it brainwashing, call whatever you want. It kind of is that, but in a really good way, because literally when I got out of the military, everything seemed like a joke as far as work to me. I'm not kidding, dude. I was just like, are you shitting me? And so I got to work Saturday, whatever. It didn't even faze me. You know what I mean?
Well,
but if you put yourself in a position of being challenged like that all the time, those challenges aren't as hard.
Right.
Yeah.
And I was just thinking about that, like with what you were saying earlier, Spencer, with, 10 years of being an athletic director and teacher and all that stuff, like, the saying that you were just touching on is kind of like, like complacency kills, or you can't grow unless you get out of your comfort zone. And man, just to take that leap of going full in on now doing something that I'm sure you love, like, can you go into a little bit about like what that was like? I'm sure it was kind of nerve wracking to like leave stability,
dude. Yeah. It was scary. And thankfully, my wife, credit to her, she saw that I had a vision. She saw that, and she knows me. She knows that I'm not going to give up very easily. And when I set my sights on something, I'm going to get after it. And so she knew that it was quite a leap of faith, but she knew that I was going to get there, or at least she made me think I was. When I didn't willfully leave, like COVID hit, I'm a PE teacher, we can't be on campus. Well, how the hell am I supposed to do a PE class, when I'm not even there? So we tried to do like some virtual stuff, which was just weird. And I eventually was in a cut, they started cutting employees. And so that's how it all started. And so, obviously the first thing that hits you is panic. You're like, oh shit, like, I don't have an income anymore. Okay, what now? And so, again, being in that industry or that space for quite some time, I know other teachers, I know other athletic directors and principals and all that kind of, jazz from other schools. So I started making calls here and there. And then I realized, I was like, man, do I even want to keep doing this? And the answer was no. I was done. I thought I was, like I said earlier, I thought I was going to die a PE teacher / athletic director, and that was going to be it. But then I realized, there's more to life, and I was getting burnt out. I was over it. And I quickly realized before I accepted another, teaching position that I'm like, dude, I'm out, and and then I hopped on another call and I talked to my buddy who was in a marketing agency that I'd done some random modeling stuff for way back. And I was like, hey dude, I'm pretty creative. I'm a little rough around the edges, but throw me a bone and I won't let you down. And it was just right place, right time. And I never looked back after that.
Wow, dude, that is so awesome.
Yeah.
That is just I don't know, that's inspirational to hear. That's awesome.
No, thanks, man. And it's just it's been a wild ride, and I've had huge scares where everything's great, and then client, something blew up with the client. They don't have a budget for marketing anymore. You know what I mean? It's so bizarre because good marketing is what's going to make you money. But when shit hits the fan, marketing is always the first thing to go, which is so interesting to me. But anyway, I've had crazy scares where clients dip out, and I'm like, oh crap, now I'm only making $3,000 a month. Shit, okay,
yeah,
get back after it, And again, I put my wife through the ringer with that a few times, but she now knows the game where you're never gonna have a client forever. You know what I mean? Something's eventually gonna happen. Mm-hmm. Whether you just part ways, or they go in a different direction, or they sell, or the the brand goes under, or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
So many different scenarios happen with brands and businesses. So she knows the deal now, where it's always I'm always gonna be on to the next one. I've always got something else going. Always got my iron in the fire, so to speak, somewhere else, and that's kind of why I brought other people on, so I can keep doing that. Because you get to a place, and it doesn't matter how much money you're making, you get to a place where you could you hit a wall. You can't do any more work. You are one man. Mm-hmm. And I was getting very, very close to that, where I knew that the quality of my work was going to start to tail off if I didn't seek some kind of help, some support. And so that's what I did. And really, big picture for me, it's am I just going to be a one-man show? Am I going to be doing all the things forever?
Right.
I don't want to do all the things forever. I want to, I want to focus on the things I want to do. I want to obviously help and support businesses grow, and support all their needs, but I need someone else to do that so I can keep bringing in more business. And that's what I did this year.
That's awesome, man. And, on the other side of the coin of having, the ups and downs with clients and stuff, has there been, maybe a particular, and I don't care if you name drop brands or anything, we don't care, but I'm just wondering, has there been one that stands out to you that was just has been just really satisfying for your personal fulfillment? Is there a favorite brand you've worked with or anything like that?
Oh man, that's a good question. Yeah, there has been. So I've been with Irish Setter for a really long time.
Oh, yeah.
I think we're going on 3 or 4 years. So I shoot a lot of their content, and we just have a really, really good working relationship. Mm-hmm. And I've done. There's a lot of it's really nice because I'm on retainer with them. So I deliver X for Y. But then there's times where hey, we need something specific here. Mm-hmm. And we, it's we only need this one video, or it's, hey, can you come speak at this event? And I'm not asking for extra dollars when I go do that or anything like that. And so it's just been a really nice give and take. Or this year I'm telling, I'm going to pitch some actual hunts to go on where I'll be filming, and I get to pitch them stories where I'm working on this one where it's this really cool gal out in Northern California, her and her dad, grew her up to be this really solid hunter. She's just a full on badass. She's a firefighter now. She was a wildland fire for a long time.
Wow.
So she's a badass, and she's going to be chasing some serious deer up in Northern California this year. And she brought it to my attention, and so that's a story right there where I'm going to pitch to them. So it's just been a really nice give and take with Irish Setter. And again, things can change, but I'll always respect them in that way where we just had a really, really nice working relationship. And there was this unspoken word with each other that we'll take care of each other, So I've really, really admired and respected my relationship with them.
That's awesome, man. And I mean, that's a reputable company for sure.
In the outdoors, every detail counts. See sharper, aim clearer. From the river's edge to the heart of the flooded timber, Hook and Bullet has your vision covered. Hook and Bullet's purpose-built optics are flawlessly crafted to give you an edge regardless of your outdoor pursuit. Use code ZeroDuck30 for 15% off a pair of Hook and Bullet sunglasses today.
I mean, who hasn't heard of Irish Setter boots, you know?
Yeah, no,
yeah, they've been around forever.
I've owned some, and they're great. And
Yep. They're on the up and ups too. Like they're perfecting their technology, and they're coming out with new and cool stuff. And not many people know this, but Red Wing shoes is like the big umbrella.
That's what I was going to say. I thought I heard that.
Yeah. So Red Wing shoes is like the big umbrella, and then Irish Setter is under that umbrella. It's Irish Setter. It's there's another work boot that they have, and then they have a hiking boot as well, a hiking brand under their umbrella as well. The name is escaping me now. I don't work with them. I think it starts with a V, but anyway. So yeah, they've got a bunch of really cool footwear brands under that one big umbrella. They're all out of Minnesota. And, you know, they've got this huge, really cool HQ, like right in Red Wing, Minnesota as well. It's really cool. I got to go there for an event, and it was really, really cool. It's my first time actually being out there and like spending some quality time out in Minnesota. It's a really cool little spot out there.
That's awesome, man.
That's sweet. And I think you kind of touch on a good point too, you know, but you know, Tristan, you asking him that question, you know, I think it's very important that, you know, you do have that kind of a relationship with a supplier, because we've been, or you know, a manufacturer, whoever it is, because we've had, if you do this long enough, you'll deal with some that you understand what I'm talking about when you see how it doesn't go, or you wish it could be, to maximize the, hey, you know, look, I will sell the world for you. Yeah. You know, and you know, some of them just don't identify. I don't mean it as like not identifying talent. It's just that they are stuck in their ways, and they just I don't know. I don't want to throw shade at anybody, but keep it on.
No, it's true. It's true. It's very true. Where, you know, they get stuck in their ways. Exactly what you said, and they don't want to grow. They don't want to try different things. You know, there's plenty of brands I've worked with or I've heard of that just like, you know, they think they're doing right by the brand by just continually doing the same thing over and over again.
Yep.
Which really, you know, like you've got to evolve. You got to change things up. You got to, you know, there's so many different parts of marketing that you've got to just grab it by the horns and go. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And you know, I could just probably zap off 100, but you know, when it comes to bows, you think about Hoyt and you think about Matthews. Why?
Yeah.
They are experts at marketing. They're great, and they get good products, but they're very good at marketing. Look at Benelli. Look at who else would be another good shotgun manufacturer? Savage, or
Rite.
Rite. Any of these big names, they're good, and you know about them so much because they're good at advertising. You know, just like us with Frog Talks. You know, we have a high amount of respect for the relationship that we have with them, because they are so great to work with. Yeah. You know, we've never ever asked for anything that we wouldn't need. We've never asked for stuff that we would want, if that makes sense. You know.
The great thing about, like, and I'm sure being on your side of the fence, Spencer, like, this is probably really important to you, but like from our standpoint, like my dad was saying, you know, like we will, if we believe in something, we'll like sell it to the world because we're using it. And backtrack, I mean, and people have heard this on the podcast before, like Frog Talks, we were users before we had a relationship with them, but like one thing I love about them is like they really give us their ear when it comes to like stuff we're trying to do for them. And like and not that we're like perfect by any means, but like we've been able to do some cool, like, you know, promotional videos for them. Yeah, just different stuff. And of course, any of our hunts, you know, we're using their stuff, but like just to have like their ear, because it's like I want to promote this brand, like I want to be like,
I always want to give them more than they give us.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
It's
you know,
and just like to kind of wrap that up, like it's kind of frustrating when it's like you're trying to like communicate with the company and you're like, man, like I really just want to like do this, or you know, and you're not really,
Yeah.
they're not really giving you their like ear, you know.
Yeah.
No, I've worked with plenty of brands like that where they're a stick in the mud. You know, they don't want to hear new ideas. They don't want to evolve. They just want to keep doing the same thing over and over again. And then you know, they start complaining when they're not getting results. You know, and it's just like, man, you got again, taking the ego down, right? Because I feel like that is part of it as well with brands. The brands will have an ego. And they're like, no, this is the way we've always done it. And it's like, well, it ain't working anymore. So you need to shift. You need to pivot somehow.
Yeah.
And it's always nice when brands are open to that kind of stuff, you know.
I have to ask this, being a guy doing what you're doing, you know, like with the ever changing like social media landscape, like that's always,
God, it's always changing, dude. I hate it.
Dude, I mean, I hate it too. Like from that standpoint, like, God, man, like, it's just so like, I don't know. I'm just kind of opening up a rant can of worms. If you want to rant on it, go ahead. I don't know, man. It's just like, it is so hard to keep up with. It's like, you know, I don't know. Like, I swear our TikToks, like, and TikTok freaking, what do they call that, shadow ban right now, where it's like, no matter what I do, I can't get it out of like 300-400 views.
He could post a picture of going over and feeding hungry people in Africa or something like that, and it would get like 200 views.
Yeah, I don't know, man, but
I mean, you could do something really great, and it's just that's the way it feels anyway.
Puppies, flowers, and rainbows, and it gets 200 views.
Yeah,
it's tough, man. It is always changing. Like algorithms are so hard to keep up on these days. I remember where, you know, it just stayed the same for the longest time. It was predictable. You knew what you needed to do to grow, and it was so much easier. But now it's like, now social media is the number one way to advertise your business or yourself, and you know, and they know that now. They know that. And so they're making it so much harder, and they're making you pay for certain things now, and to just so they can get paid, which I understand to a point, right? Like, they're a business too. They got to get paid, right? But it's just so hard to figure out the right growth strategy, and some strategy won't work for everybody. You know what I mean? Like, you really have to tailor the strategy to that exact brand. You know, it's not so cut and dry. I will say that, and here's a little like social media tip though. I used to say there's 3 pillars. Now I really kind of lump them into 2 pillars, but like the 2 pillars that are really, really going or you should really try to tailor your content to is, we'll call it 3. So like, one is inspirational. All right. So inspirational is still very prevalent. I used to say entertaining, but it's really inspirational, humorous, right? Like, people love to laugh, and they'll share it with their friends and all that good stuff. And the other one is informational, right? People love to learn. A good example of that is people are now using TikTok and Instagram as search engines.
Yep.
That may blow a few minds right there. Like, they're not going to Google anymore.
I do that myself.
Yeah. See, so like, you're using social media platforms to go find information, you know, and before, if I try to learn about something, I go straight to YouTube.
Yep.
I don't go to Google. I go straight to YouTube, and 8 or 9 times out of 10, I'm going to find the answer I'm looking for.
Yep.
You know, but that's just like a nice little tidbit there. It's like, those are the 3 pillars that people are really gravitating towards right now. And if you can create content that, it doesn't have to have all 3 in those all at once, but if you can get one of those pillars in your content and kind of spread it around, you know, you'll probably, again, with the consistency part, you'll probably start to see a little bit more growth. But it's really tough. It is really, really tough right now.
That's I'm glad you brought that up, man, because like that I think that's something that like I lose sight of, because like what I love to do is like, I mean, I love informational stuff myself too and getting that out, but like I love making like badass like edits of hunting that make you feel some type of way. But like those, you know, like those, unfortunately, like, you know, you put a lot of effort into them and stuff. Like a lot of times, like they'll just flop and they don't fall. They don't fall, unfortunately, in either of those, any of those categories you just named. You know.
Yeah, I guess they could. They might fall into inspirational.
Or
I would say inspirational, right?
Yeah.
Because everything's entertainment, right? You know, because I used to say like, oh, entertaining is a pillar, but really like, entertaining is so subjective, and that can be anything, right? Like a funny reel can be entertaining. You know, the way you presented that information that I just took in could be entertaining, right? So it's really this inspirational, the humor and the informative stuff that is doing really well these days. And yeah, it's you talk about like the videos that you put a lot of time and effort in and they don't do great, right? And that's when like brands, you know, certain brands who, and I love that, like I call that the storytelling reel, right? Like you tell the whole story about whatever it was. Maybe it was an awesome duck hunt that you guys were on. And some brands love that, and they don't care if it flops or not, because they're all about the story, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
But then there's other brands, and I'm not knocking one over the other because both have their place. But then there's the brands like, give me a 10-second slow-mo reel and let's throw some text on screen, or our call to action will be to read the caption, some stuff like that. That stuff does well is also, you know, so having a balance between those things, I think is the hot spot. Going one way, going too far on one way or the left, you know, the right or the left with that, that's when you're going to kind of paint yourself in a corner, you know, unfortunately.
Yeah, no, it makes sense, man. Yeah, I definitely appreciate you dropping those tips, because that's just making me get my wheels spinning.
Yeah, right. It's like pushing your button, just hearing it from a different perspective. It's not like that's not what we strive for, but you know, you could see, like I know exactly what you're talking about, Tristan. I mean, there's parts of videos that, like when I saw it, I was like, holy shit. And I would be like, rewind that and watch it again, rewind it, watch again, rewind it, watch again. And ultimately, do you want coffee that doesn't suck? Get the Duck. Dirty Duck coffee is made specifically for the waterfowl enthusiast. Enjoy flavors like Morning Wood, Dark Dynasty, Cinnamon Teal Snickerdoodle, and First Flight to unlock the flavor that you'll enjoy in the blind for years to come. Our friends at Dirty Duck Coffee Company are now offering all Zero Duck 30 followers a 15% discount when you use code ZeroDuck15 on your next order. That's what you're shooting for, right? And then we put out a video that's got several things like that, or, you know, even brought a tear to my eye. You know, I've had some videos where Tristan has sent me over, you know, that memory by watching that video was so intimate, I guess, when I watched the video, that I was just like, I get choked up, you know, sometimes watching some of these videos, and I'm just like, dude, that's exactly you know, and
that's
then
what I love to do, man. I love to like make somebody feel some type of way off.
Yeah, I want to tap on your feelings a little bit, you know.
Yeah, absolutely. I shot an event, and it's not even anything intimate like that, but like I shot an event for an overlanding brand, and I sent them over the edit, and they're like, man, that was exactly how I felt in that moment.
Yeah.
Wow.
And like
cool.
that was like one of like, that was like exactly like talk about like the best feedback, right?
Yeah.
Is like that, like you send them over a video you worked hard on, and they're like, man, that was exactly how the night went. That was perfect. You know, like that's exactly how I remember it.
Yeah. So, and it just shows being in touch, you know, like to kind of feel that and then put it into a creation like you did.
Yeah. And talk about, and that's something else, like to kind of piggyback on what you're saying, is like the people who just edit videos, like that has got to be one of the hardest jobs in the world, because you weren't there. You know what I mean? Like you don't know the emotion. You don't know, like, you don't know the inside jokes. You don't know, you weren't there, but then yet there's really, really, really good, talented editors out there that can pull that out. And even though they weren't there, it sure looks like they were. So those are the really talented guys. But yeah, talk about the hardest job ever is trying to edit a hunting video for YouTube that you weren't even at, you know?
Dude, yeah, I'm literally doing something like that right now. So my dad,
Oh, yeah, it's tough.
My dad went on this trout fishing trip in Arkansas, and you know, granted, like he, you know, I'm having him like work hand in hand with me, but it's not, you know, usually I'm at all these things, so it's a lot easier for me to edit. It's definitely way harder when I'm not there, and it's like, you know, I gotta lean on him a lot more to be like, hey, like, you know, and having him like do voiceovers and parts and stuff, because I wasn't there a lot of times in our videos. Like, I'll just do the voiceover since I'm editing and stuff, so it's been kind of different. But yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah. Talking about other stuff, like just kind of growing, right? Where off the podcast when we were getting ready, we were talking about your podcast, right? Like where you were thinking about, like,
I'm glad you brought that back up.
Yeah. So like, you know, you want to eventually, want to do the YouTube version, right, of your podcast, which I totally think you should, because again, I think, you know, with podcasts, is it an oversaturated market? Absolutely, right. But people will just, like, for me, like, I went through a very long strand of time where instead of watching a TV show on TV, I would literally just go on YouTube and look up a podcast that I like to listen to while I'm on the road. And I just watch it on TV. I'd watch it on the background. You know, it'd be going on in the background. And I think it's people are visual, you know, and a lot of podcasts are very visually, appeasing now, right? And so I think that's something you guys should do. But one of the things that you had mentioned is, it's like, man, it's a lot of squeeze to get everything in there and all the editing that has to be done. But, you know, we brought it up where, like, I found this program, and I should have looked it up. It's an AI program that's really based just around podcasts, where you can just shove all of your all your video files in there, and then you can kind of pick, you know, how often you want the camera to switch, and, you know, like, you want a lot of switching, you want, you know, minimal switching, you know, somewhere in the middle, and, you know, within like 5 minutes, it crushes an hour-long podcast, and it does all the camera switching and everything for you, and you got a serious podcast video ready to roll. All you got to do is upload it to YouTube. You know, it's pretty sweet what you can do now.
Yeah, no, that's definitely going to be something that would be useful. And, like, I think just kind of from an infrastructure standpoint, like, I feel like we need to, and I'd be interested to hear your, like, thoughts on it. Like, there's some things we got to, like, kind of update and change just to kind of get to that point readily. Cause, like, for example, like, from a camera situation, like, the camera I got going right now, we're just going to use, like, clips and post on social media and stuff. But, like, it's just, like, it's a nice camera, but it's going to, I know it might even be dead right now. It's been an hour probably. And, so, like, okay, battery life's a problem. Like, from a computer standpoint, like, we really need, like, a high-end computer that we're, like, recording on. And that, so, like, for example, right now, like, we have, like, a shitty old, like, Lenovo that we have audio recording thing on that's recording the audio, but, like, I do all my editing on a desktop back at my house. So it's like, eventually we need to get a laptop that can kind of do everything, and I could just be, everything just needs to, like, update and get more streamlined, which will happen for us in time. But it's like, you know, building it from the ground up, like, there's some money constraints, you know, and things like that. But
sure.
Well, we invested in a good audio system.
Yeah.
You know, and we've got this Rockville audio system that we really like, and so that's been good, you know. But we just got to keep chipping away at it. Yeah.
So with the cameras, you can, like, so something you've got to look out for, because most cameras, they'll have a shutoff switch around 30 minutes. Usually, you might be able to squeeze 45 minutes in, but the camera will literally just overheat and shut off. But there are a few cameras out there that aren't going to, like, completely break your bank, that don't have time limits on. Well,
some of them have DC plugs too, right?
True, but they'll still overheat.
Oh, really?
Still overheat.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, they may not overheat, but literally inside the mechanism inside the camera will just shut off. Like, it's programmed to do that. But there are cameras out there. I believe we were using Sony A6400s, I believe that's what we're using. And for whatever reason, that model did not have a cutoff switch.
Huh.
Did not have a cutoff switch. Yeah, so we could, our podcast used to be like 2 hours, 3 hours long sometimes.
Damn.
Because we'd be drinking and smoking and just hanging out. And before you know it, you're like, oh my god, dude, we got to get out of here. But yeah, there's cameras out there that you can look out after that don't have that cutoff switch, and that'll help out too. But there's other ways around it, right? You could set up, webcams if you needed to. There's high quality webcams out there too that aren't going to have any overheating issues or anything like that. So there's little ways around where you can try to start to upgrade slowly. It may not be exactly what you want now, but it's better than what you have now. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, middle of the road stuff.
Yeah, no, absolutely, man. And that's kind of our thought. Just like, really.
Same way we started off with a duck boat.
Yeah. And like with technology, when you first get into filming anything, it's like whatever you can afford. And like we've gone from literally phones and GoPros to like, this past, I guess it's been a year now, we bought a Canon R8, which is like, a pretty solid camera for like what we do. I mean, it's not, I would say it's a little bit above middle of the road for Canon.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, in their top, there's probably 4 or 5 models that are better, but it's a solid camera. And, that's kind of like this year's thing, or, and then the next thing is going to be like the laptop that, can do all of it. So it's just like a process, right?
Yep. I mean, for probably, up until like late last year, I was shooting off an A6500, and that camera is like 8 years old.
Wow.
You know what I mean? But the quality of the imagery and everything, it was great.
Yeah.
It was great. But then I cracked and I got the Sony A7 IV, and I was like, holy shit, this is a little different.
That's how we felt.
Just like the quality of everything, the crispiness of things, and just like, and something that people don't really talk about is like the AI in the actual camera, right? Like it does so many things for you that you just kind of, you didn't take for granted before, right? Like certain things you had to do with your other camera where like, oh, this camera just does it. You don't even have to do anything. You know what I mean?
Yep.
So it's really nice. But again, you can do some really great things with middle of the road stuff for sure.
Absolutely, man. Well, I think we ought to wrap this bad boy up. I got to be getting home, but we do the podcast in my dad's house, and I got about a 35-minute drive. But Spencer, man, dude, we had a blast tonight.
Great time.
It's always good when like you get on a podcast with somebody that you've never talked to in person before, and you hit it off like you've talked to them like every other week.
Yeah, right.
Hey, by the way, what year was that when you ran into that guy out there in the desert?
Oh, it was 2024, probably 21. Yeah, 2021, a couple years ago.
Yeah, I got lost out west a couple years back, and I woke up one morning and hung over, and maybe it was me. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just messing.
I knew your voice sounded familiar. I knew it.
No, but I felt like I've met this guy before.
Yeah.
So
that'd be a hell of a story,
wouldn't it? Oh my gosh!
Right.
So, but man, what we can't.
Likewise, man. It was really great chatting with you guys, and whenever you guys want to do it again, I'm always game. I really appreciate you bringing me on.
We really appreciate it, man. And where can people, tell everybody where they can get in touch with you at, and if there's if they're wanting to do work with you, how they can get in touch with you and all that.
Yeah. So on basically every social media platform, it's just at Nomadiq Media. Nomadiq is with a Q, not a C at the end. And if you want to shoot me an email, it's marketing@nomadiqmedia.com.
Awesome.
Holler at me.
Good deal, man.
All right, brother. Well, you stay safe out there and have a great time with your family, and we appreciate you. We'll have you on again for sure.
All right. Appreciate you guys. Take
care. Thanks, man. Bye.
I've been southbound, I've been hellbound, riding on the midnight train. Going too fast now, think I ought to slow down, standing in the pouring rain.